Hi, Ellie Glazer here with this week's Sovea video podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Celebrate responsibility. I didn't say celebrate responsibly, although that's a responsible thing to do. Today I want to talk about celebrating responsibility. That's kind of odd, but think about it for a second. What are we doing at a birthday, at a graduation, at any type of a significant life event? We're celebrating responsibility. Because a birthday doesn't just mark the transition from one year to another year. Oftentimes, certainly as we grow in our youth and teenage years and early 20s, we're gaining more and more responsibility and maturity in our lives. We're escalating from elementary school to high school to college to professions to relationships to marriage. And each of those steps in our lives brings with it more responsibility, more effort, more impact that we can make in this world. And if we look at responsibility just under the lens of it's a burden or the work that's involved or the opportunities for failure, well, that can weigh us down and we could be bitter or resentful about it and want to run away from it, just want to hide in our comfort. But we don't do that. We celebrate it. Those are marked occasions of happiness, of achievement, of accomplishment, and looking forward. So we welcome that responsibility, even with the consequences that go along with it. Because the more responsibility we have in our lives, when we get married, the consequences grow. Certainly when we have children, the consequences of being a productive and, ideal parent grow exponentially as well. But that's what we want to embrace. We want to embrace the responsibility because that means that our lives matter. That means that we're intrinsically wonderful people who have such an impact to make into this world. And that's why we're celebrating. That happens to be also why with Jews we're celebrating this time of the year, which is Rosh Hashanah, the new year. And it's the time of judgment. So why are we celebrating judgment? Think about it. You go into a court case and the judge is going to render his final ruling. You're not necessarily celebrating before that or going into the court with hats and with balloons, and with blowers and having a big party there. The judge might think that's a little pretentious, but that's what we're doing, kind of, as Jews when we go to the synagogue for Rosh Hashanah services, where we're praying, we're asking, and we're understanding that God is judging us and looking at us, and we understand the consequences of that accountability. But what do we do right after that? We have a celebratory meal, but we don't even know what the judgment is. We assume that we hope that the judgment is positive. So how can we have a celebratory meal? Because what we're doing is not necessarily celebrating or anticipating the fact that the judgment is going to be to our favor, although certainly we want that. What we're doing in essence is we're celebrating the fact that we're being judged. We're celebrating the fact that we do have a meaningful life, that our lives matter, in this world. That's a tremendous thing to celebrate. And in fact, if we think about it, there's nothing more important to celebrate than that. Because all of us will make mistakes. None of us are perfect. We all have our positive traits and our, not so positive traits. We're all going to trip up sometime in this world. That doesn't make us bad people. That just makes us human. And we're going to be held accountable for that. But the fact that we're being held accountable, the fact that our differences, that our actions make a difference, whether they're the productive, successful choices we make or the mistakes that we make as well, that they have an impact. And that's what we're celebrating. And that's responsibility. And we don't shy away from it. And that's so pertinent to our relationship with food. Before this point, so many of us were just dieting. And a diet, by definition, is what? Is averting responsibility. It's like, what's the magic pill? What's the secret formula? What's the quick fix? What don't I have to do in order to lose weight? What don't I have to change in order to change my body size? Well, that doesn't make any sense because nothing changes if nothing changes. So we want to celebrate the responsibility that we have for ourselves. And the most responsible thing we do for ourselves, for our health, is self-nourishment, expressing that self-love through proper nutrition. And that requires the efforts, and that requires the boundaries, that requires the consistency, that requires all of the circumstances that any responsible, impactful action and role in life comes with. That's the same thing with ourselves. The role that we have in nourishing and valuing and taking responsibility for our own health comes with that responsibility, comes with that effort. Now, either we can be emotionally burdened by it, feel bitter or resentful, or we can celebrate it. That's right. We can celebrate the boundaries. We can celebrate the effort. We can celebrate the change, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's something that we don't feel like doing, because that's maturity. That's being a human being. It's celebrating something even we don't feel like doing it, because once we do it, nothing will give us greater satisfaction. So all of those who are watching nationally, internationally, who are celebrating the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah, I want to wish everyone a sweet, happy, healthy, and successful New Year. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week and next year.